Hi guys, my name is Rayhan, and this is a conclusion video to wrap up my 30-day challenge to gain about 10 pounds of muscle mass over the course of a month. Basically, I was following Tim Ferriss' blog entry in regards to Nate Green, who's part of another like muscle building think tank website that helps people that are having trouble gaining weight or gaining muscle mass or very adaptive um, uh, or very significant body adaptations achieve those goals. So Nate Green is the one who basically was a guest writer. He wrote the article, and I'll give the link in the description below. But basically, the blog was about how you gain muscle mass really quickly, hypertrophy. I followed the whole thing, and it was a lot of fun because it was different from the Occam's protocol or the 4 Hour Body's way of getting bigger faster. Now, the reason why it was fun is because you were doing a lot of different exercises that you have to learn, a lot of powerlifting movements, a lot of Olympic style lifting movements, stuff like snatches, cleans, those kind of things were a lot of fun. Also, there was a lot of sprinting on treadmills, circuits, what's called the hurricane circuit. Basically, the whole thing was comprised of UFC style conditioning tactics when you're trying to meet weight before a competition. So that was a lot of fun. Now, the biggest conclusion I can draw from doing that is that because you're tricking your body every day and every week and going at it so strong, you don't gain a lot of fat, if any fat at all. So I had a lot of great, significant visual changes in the way my body looked. Um, and the only downside is because you're stressing your body so often, you have to recover very quickly. So it means you have to get sleep immediately. You can't dawdle around and mess around with that, because if you miss a day of sleep, then that changes the entire sequence of events throughout the month. The actual blog entry was geared towards, I believe, 30 pounds of mass, but the amount of eating was gonna be too much for me, especially with the budgetary considerations, and I just don't want to waste my time making those meals. I don't have that kind of time. So did I make my goal, 10 pounds? I actually did not. I got 7 pounds of mass, quality lean mass. I measured myself on a bioimpedance scale. It's behind me. It's a Y things bioimpedance scale, and I measure myself usually in the mornings. And I was starting at about 160 flat, and I got up to 166, 167. So that was very interesting, and that was over the course of at least 28 days to 30 days. So what's different between this and the 4 Hour Body Occam's protocol, and what would I recommend being a very novice anecdotal researcher of these different protocols? Um, I would say that the biggest difference is the the amount of work you're putting in. It's no longer doing the minimal effective dose. Now, the one learning lesson that I had from the 4 Hour Body Occam's protocol was how you can actually activate muscle. That's through muscle recruitment, right? So muscle recruitment, it's kind of a skill and a science that you have to learn by doing and making mistakes. Even if you are taught what to do, it's impossible to have that feeling unless you do it enough. So after about 12 months of pretty much failing at meeting my goals through the 4 Hour Body, the one thing I did achieve was how to really channel muscle recruitment at the right times for the right workouts and the right movements. And what I mean is I was able to use high intensity training principles to um, and timed sets and reps to really obliterate my muscles. And the whole idea of hypertrophy is you want to um, break down your muscle, but then immediately recover it. So you don't want to stay in that burn period, that period where you have a lot of lactic acid buildup or that perceived burn from hydrogen ions. You want to keep that short as possible. You want it, but you still want to keep it short as possible. So balancing that takes a lot of time to kind of get the the pace. So that's one thing I learned from for the 4 Hour Body, of how to get that muscle recruitment and get that sweet spot. You know, channel the little short twitch muscle fibers and things. So those kind of things I learned, and that was just basically, you know, keeping it at 6 to 7 reps, or even if I do go to 10 reps, I'm practicing, you know, time under tension rules of, you know, 60 to 90 seconds of time under tension. That was the game changer for me, because once I targeted that, my failure point was you know, maybe a rep or two after that, but I had hit it. You know, I hit probably the right spot before my muscles are completely fatigued and I can't do anything else. And the other thing was rest. I learned a lot about rest. You know, rest is very important. However, that was probably one of the bad things about the 4 Hour Body is you never really knew if you were really resting because of the protocol, or you were resting improperly and you're just gaining fat from the amount of food you were eating. Um, but again, that's speculation, because there's a lot of other things that are hard to regulate, which I'll go into in a second. So back to the 30-day protocol, 30-day challenge, this UFC style weight gaining protocol. I loved it, and I gained 7 pounds of quality muscle. And the biggest thing was it aerobically conditioned me for the Spartan Beast in South Carolina, which was about 13 miles, and a lot of, I think it was like 30 obstacles or something like that, 20 to 30 obstacles. So it really conditioned me, and that combined with the practical applications of all the different things we're doing, like um, I did rope climbs, I did battle ropes, I did slam balls, all those kind of things were introducing something new. So my body had to adapt, and I think that that spontaneity really helps in a lot of different ways. The other thing that I did significantly different from the 4 Hour Body Occam's protocol is I started implementing strategically the idea of uh, thermo thermodynamics, I guess you could say, but basically cold exposure and heat exposure. So there was a wonderful post, and also it's in the book by Tim Ferriss in regards to cold exposure and how you can use that to get, you know, maybe the 5 to 10 pounds that you need to shed of body fat. And then there's also a great article through via Tim Ferriss's podcast and blog that from Dr. Rhonda Patrick on the idea of I think it's called thermogenics, and specifically it's called hyperthermic conditioning. Yeah, that's right, hypothermic conditioning, and it's, you know, saunas, sauna exposures, and how that actually helps with recovery as well as hypertrophy, because of how heat shock proteins and other types of metabolism, I guess metabolic processes are influenced by heat, and then it also prevents the muscle from catabolizing. So there's a lot of great stuff. Also, you know, I've been struggling with seasonal affective disorder, so, you know, doing a little bit of the cold showers in the morning helped me, and then after workouts, doing the saunas helped, you know, train me for enduring the Spartan beast. So I've been doing a lot of different things, and I'm sorry if it's rambling after a while, but I wanted to just stress the point that, though I didn't get to my goals in the 4 Hour Body, the tools and everything that I've learned through the book and through Tim Ferriss's blog and through all of his guest blogs and the other scientists on his podcast that come and discuss these points of hypertrophy and strength building, those things, those tools that you gain are so valuable. Okay, and that's what you need to get out of this video, is the fact that I gained all those skills. I have this arsenal now, and it's just up to me now how I can apply it and maybe change it and model it into something more effective. But how does that help you guys? How can you reproduce any of the successes, if there were any successes that I had? So the success was I did get 7 pounds of lean muscle. I will tell you what my body fat is once I get tested tomorrow in the morning, which is a Monday, in a bod pod clinic. The other success that I had was that I did gain strength, and the overall, I guess, control I had over my sympathetic nervous system, I feel was tremendous. I don't feel stressed out anymore. I don't feel sick. I haven't gotten sick this winter. Depression's at an all-time low. Everything's great. And I think I owe that a lot to the workout slash the cold therapy. So all of that is something that you guys can take away immediately and apply and say, go to those chapters in the book or look for those blog entries and read about it and apply it. And if you don't want to do the 30-day, challenge or whatever you want to call it, this UFC style weight gaining protocol, you don't have to. But the cool thing about that protocol is you get to eat bread. So maybe you can introduce carbohydrates and change up what the Occam protocol does. Now, that's one last point I'll give, the diet. So I did eat a lot more than usual, but not as much as maybe the Occam's protocol or the Geek to Free chapters had explained. And what's important about this diet is the bread. You eat a little bit of bread because of how much you're training every day. And I actually felt really good about that. It felt amazing. And I'm starting to question if I am actually carbohydrate adaptive. So, there's 3 macronutrients that are, or maybe 4 macronutrients of significance. There's protein, there's fat, and there's carbohydrates, and then there's also ketones. I'm starting to wonder if I am truly carbohydrate adaptive, meaning, how does my body handle carbohydrates? Do I digest food properly? How is my gut health in a good condition? I think these are more important than the actual protocol for me specifically, because I'm very good at adhering to everything that I study and implement. However, I don't have the significant results in the time I want. And I've noticed it could be, and this is speculatory, but this is based on observation and the anecdotal evidence that I've recorded over the past year, that it's stress induced. I have elevated cortisol, which I have tested in 2 or 3 occasions over the span of 6 months. I have a history of sleep issues. So could that combination, and then maybe a poor gut health or maybe some type of carbohydrate adaptation problem, be affecting how I'm instrumenting the diet into the work I'm doing? Meaning, could I be spiking in the wrong times of insulin, and could I not be metabolizing glucose properly? Or maybe I need to continue to eat fructose because that will give me the significant muscle charge that I need to do the specific hypertrophy exercise that I need. It's such a very specific type of issue with me that I think I'm willing to take a new approach to getting to my goals, and that's maybe not going slow carb completely, but eating bread, like multigrain bread, Ezekiel bread in the mornings, timing those meals for my carbohydrates in the mornings, and then, maybe balancing it out if I feel like I'm gaining fat by continuing to do my cold exposure therapies, doing uh, uh, maybe a intermittent fasting here and there, um, whatever it is, and introducing more nuts as healthy nuts for my fats, whatever it is, I'm expanding my view on the problem, and that problem's fat loss. So that's the other thing I want you guys to maybe appreciate, that don't just get angry that the workout or the protocol that's in the book isn't working. There might be something in your biochemistry that you might need to learn about, that you might need to tweak, and then go back to the book and say, this is what I'm going to add, and then these are other tools I'll bring in to help get me back to my ultimate goal. So ultimately, you have so many arsenals, yeah, so many tools in your arsenal. Use them all. Tim Ferriss does a good job of just giving it all to you. You become the scientist, and that's what I learned after a year. Become the scientist. Become empowered to question things, but also apply things and keep coming back to refine them. And that's it. So you can see, this is a large, or this is I guess a large shirt. I'm a little scrawny. I am in my fat burning experiment right now, since I am finished and done with my 30-day mass gaining protocol. I'm at 166 pounds, probably measuring about 14%, 15% body fat. And we'll find out through BodPal if that's also accurate. And we'll see what happens in a week if I can, gain a little bit of change through, conditioning. I'm just flexing to show you, like, if you've seen any of my past videos, if I look pudgy or anything, some of that fat is gone. So I'm not going to show you my abs because I'm embarrassed right now. I mean, I have them, but there's still a little baby fat in it. And then I'm going to shave and do all the good stuff to really reveal any significant change that happened. I appreciate you guys, checking this video out. Sorry for taking too much time in explaining my conclusions, but I'll get better as I go, and maybe I'll do a better job with the production and organize my notes and all the good stuff, because I really want to be a part of a community on a lot of these amazing biohacking experiments. Thank you so much. This is Rayhan. I'm out.